Hi and welcome back to my channel and the August Oso inspired collaboration hop hosted by my friend Call Me Crafty Al. This is also part 3 of my One Craft Essential All Card Makers Need series. This will finish off the series. We are talking about alpha dies. I was inspired by this card, and this is our inspiration piece this month from One Girl Studio, which is Leanne West. I will have all of her social linked in the description box below, and I hope that you head over and check her out. I'll be using the Oliver dies from Fawn, and then I have the Purr-fect Halloween Night die set. I'll be using this cute little kitty in this set along with the pumpkin. I'll be using those Gina Marie design ovals, and then I have this Frank Garcia paper pad. It is called Twilight. It is a Halloween collection, but I just love the muted colors in this, the vintage feel of the paper pad, and so I thought that it would be a perfect combination with my little kitty cat and the pumpkin. I'm going to talk a little bit about my series. Here is that die that I'll be using. So while I am showing you the different pieces that I have die cut out and we start assembling this cat, I wanted to talk a little bit about the series that I've had. If you missed part 1 or 2, those will be linked at the end of this video. I have been talking about alpha dies, and I find that alpha dies are probably one of the most underrated die sets that are available in the crafty community. We buy a lot of, as crafters, we buy a lot of sentiments that companies create, and these sentiments can get pretty pricey. When you buy a couple of alpha sets, you are going to get more versatility out of them. You will be able to create different words, not just one word. In my first video, I used a large set and I created a very short sentiment that was eek, and but it was very bold and on my card. For my second sentiment that I created with the alphas, I used 2 different size fonts. So I started with a small font and then I graduated to a larger font. I die cut that font using a pattern paper that I had created using a stencil from Scrappy Crafts. So I'm showing the versatility of the different ways that you can use alpha dies in your stash, the different ways that you can create words with them and just get a little bit more interest. So I would encourage you to check out the other 2 videos to see how I utilized those alpha dies, and I hope that you enjoyed the series, and if you did, I would love for you to give it a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. As we're putting this together, you'll notice that I did cut the pumpkin out using the pattern paper as well as the little hat. And then I cut the kitty out of black cardstock as well as the face to give a little bit of contrast against that pink. I'll be using a curry, I guess is the color that I would name it, a curry colored accent for this card. The main paper piece that I use for my background is a stripe, and the stripe does have the pink, the curry, and the black, and so I use those 3 colors throughout my card, and I think that it's just really adorable. This little pumpkin kitty is super easy to put together. As you can see, she is peeking out from the pumpkin, and so I decided to go with a sentiment that went with that theme, and my sentiment is going to be peek-a-boo. So on the inside of my card, I can still stamp Happy Halloween to you if I want it to be a Halloween card, but I just loved this sentiment. I cut the sentiment 3 times, or twice again, from white cardstock, and then the 3rd time from colored cardstock, and I'm going to alternate the pink and the curry color. For the peak, I did cut the A using black cardstock, and then for the word boo, as I mentioned, the B and the O are going to be the 2 letters, and then they will be aligned with my pumpkin to finish off the word boo. If you haven't participated in the Oso inspired collaboration hops before, I did want to mention that we do have a hashtag if you would like to play along with us. If there is something in this hop that has inspired you to create a card, we would absolutely love for you to use the hashtag #IWasOsoInspired when you are posting to your social media so that we can find either your YouTube video or your Instagram photo, whatever social media you may be, whatever social media platform you may be using. So I cut out the pattern paper. I do have a pink card panel that's 4¼ by 5½ inches. I didn't share it, but I did use a wonky stitched rectangle for this 4 by 5¼ inch piece of cardstock. I used those 2 oval dies and cut one from a piece of curry cardstock, and then I cut a second oval using one of the patterns. I had some ribbon in my stash. I love to use ribbon on my cards, especially for some reason in the fall and winter months. So I am just going to use a little bit of tape to attach this to my card before I add my ovals. And so my ovals are going to go on top of that, and then off camera I have what we call a bow-it-all. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but it's a little pegboard type thing that allows you to easily tie your bows. Because of my fingernails, I do struggle a little bit, so tying a bow with the bow-it-all is a great way for me to get a perfect bow, and I did tie a double bow for this card. I centered that onto our background, and now I'm going to use my T-square ruler. Sometimes I eye these sentiments, sometimes I use my T-square ruler. Because the letters are a little bit smaller, it was a little bit easier, and they're bulkier, so they're not going to slide under my T-square ruler. I decided to use it to help me align the first part of my sentiment, which is going to be the peak. I'm using my art glitter glue to glue everything in place, and once I get the peak in place, then I will know where I need to place my cat and pumpkin, and then I'll build the rest of my sentiment around it. This is pretty thick, so I am going to need to use my reverse tweezers to hold it in place while parts of it are gluing. You can see I'm adding some pressure with my hands, trying to get that initial adhesion. There's going to be a little bit of glue that I need to add to the bottom of the pumpkin, and off camera I did add, well, there you can see them, another pair of reverse tweezers just to hold that bottom portion in place. I thought I was going to need a foam square for the word, for the B in the boo, because it is hanging off a little bit from that oval, but what it ended up doing was being a little bit too thick and making that B a little bit too wonky, so I ended up just pulling it off and going without any additional foam to the back of it. I'm going to try another piece right here, and I end up pulling this piece off as well. So neither one of them were really helpful in putting this B down. It worked out much better for me just to glue everything straight down. You can see that beautiful bow right there that I'm going to add to the left hand side of my card, and that's going to fill in some of that blank space because I am only going to have an A in the center. And we do have the pumpkin over to the right hand side. It does have a little bit of a bare space the way that the sentiment is oriented. That was my inspiration from Leanne's card, was that she did use the alphas for her sentiment, and then she also used one of the little bunnies to finish off the word shine. So it said, "You are my sunshine," I believe, and where it said shine, she did use a little bunny for the eye, and in the case of my card, I'm using the pumpkin for my O, and that will finish everything off. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you check out all of the other designers that are participating in this hop. If you liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for watching.